Welcome to our daily Forex market analysis, and this is in preparation for trading on August 31st, 2018. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money, especially going into the long weekend here. Liquidity tends to drop, so just be mindful of that. As usual, we'll start off by taking a look at our economic calendar here. In terms of our news coming up, not a whole bunch that's critical here. We don't have any red news. We do have some orange news, which is sort of important, but it's not critical. None of the critical news here. Chicago PMI and consumer confidence sentiment number will be important here. But other than that, not a ton in terms of the important news. So let's go on to the charts right away. We'll start off with Euro US dollar. We had talked about this 1.1750 level, which is very important level. And price has not been able to go above that level. So today we have a bearish engulfing candle close. As a result of that, I'm looking for price to drop. So price has stayed below this level for the last 3 days. And as we can see, we had talked about how there's multiple times price has tested this level and now hasn't even gone up to it. I was looking for price to go up higher here, but it didn't quite make it. So right now, looking for price to drop here. The bias is bearish for today. In terms of the target, first target would be 1.1620 level, and then below that, looking for price to come into 1.1580, 1580. So bias is to the downside for euro dollar. Pound dollar here, this one is still holding above this pullback level that we had looked at yesterday. So our volume is neutral. This one could go either way here because it's still bullish because it's holding, it's made higher highs and higher lows here. It's still holding above the pullback level that we had talked about. But I think this one could drop further here as well, especially if the US dollar turns around. This one could drop further into 1.2930. So I would be looking for price to drop and do a test of this level and then potentially a bounce from there. So something like that, that's what I would be looking for. Overall, the bias is still to the upside, as we can see, and we have that uptrend line there. So right now, I think there is room for it to pull back a little bit further, but the bias still stays to the upside there. Aussie dollar here, yesterday we were looking for a price drop in this. Price has dropped. We have a nice bearish candle close here. So looking for price to drop further here. And in this case, we could just get rid of that support resistance level. So looking for price to drop here, and the target would be 0.7200, which is the bottom here. So looking for it to drop, biases to the downside for Aussie dollar. New Zealand dollar, with this one here, we had talked about how this was an important support resistance area at 0.6720. Again, for the last multiple days, price has not been able to break that. We have a bearish engulfing candle close here. So looking for price to drop further. So New Zealand dollar bias is to the downside, and the target here would be 0.6600 and then 0.6550 level to the downside. So bias is bearish for New Zealand dollar. Dollar CAD here, this one looks like we're seeing price turn around across the board for the US dollar here. So we were looking for price to drop here, but we have seen US dollar turn around. So we have bullish volume come in. We have a bullish candle close here. So this one, looking for it to go up further as a result. Bias is to the upside. Target would be 1.3060 level. So bullish bias for dollar CAD. Euro pound, we were looking for a drop. This one has dropped, and we're seeing the momentum is is not as strong as it was with the first one here, but the bias still stays to the downside. Next target is 0.8920 level to the downside, so bias is bearish for euro pound. Euro Swiss franc, yesterday we were looking for a drop. We got that drop. The momentum still seems to be to the downside, so looking for price to drop further here. 1.1250 level will be the target to the downside. So bearish bias for Euro Swiss franc. Pound Swiss franc here. So this one looks bearish now. It hasn't managed to break above that support resistance level. So now looking for price to drop here as well. But this one is not as weak as the Euro Swiss franc. Euro Swiss franc is weaker than this one at this point. But as long as it stays below 1.2660 level here, bias stays to the downside. In this case, the target would be 1.2520 level to the downside. Dollar Swiss franc here, bias is bearish. Small candle close here, which means the momentum is waning here. Next target would be 96.50 level to the downside. So bias is bearish for a dollar Swiss franc here as well. Now, if the US dollar turns around across the board, this one may not drop as much compared to Euro Swiss franc, for example. So just keep that in mind. Pound yen here. So we have seen a pullback from the previous level here. Okay, here we go. So this one, we have a bearish candle close here, but it is not extremely bearish. We have neutral volume. So this one looks like a pullback. So this probably is not my favorite one to trade at this point, but I think it could drop further here. So I think it could come back down to the level that it was at prior to this inefficient move to the upside. And this is something to keep in mind a lot of times, especially when there are low liquidity market conditions. A piece of news comes out and market has a knee-jerk reaction to it, and all of that gets unwound after the fact. So pound yen could be one of those, but just keep that in mind. We are still not completely bearish on this. I do think it can come back here, but I would be cautious with this one because this is not a bearish engulfing candle at this point. So my bias is to the downside. I'm looking for it to drop a little bit further, either into 143.60 level or potentially lower into 142.80, but I would be cautious with this one. Euro yen, this one looks better. There is a nice bearish engulfing candle close here. So I'd be looking for price to drop further. The bias here is to the downside. So 128.80 will be the next target. And we could look for next target here would be 128.20 level. So bias is to the downside for Euro yen. And this one does look better than pound yen. Dollar yen, nice bearish engulfing candle close here as well. So I'm looking for price to drop further. 110.50 will be the target, and below that 110.00. So bias for dollar yen is also to the downside. Aussie yen, nice bearish engulfing candle close here. So just another thing to note, this is we have seen this behavior with multiple pairs. Price was coming into resistance, and we have seen that price was not able to break resistance. Similar thing here, and we saw a big drop as a result of that. So Aussie yen looking weak, big bearish engulfing candle close. So we do have support right where price is right now. That's only thing to be cautious with this one. As we can see, this is coming all the way from here, but that's a nice bearish engulfing candle close, nice bearish volume. So looking for price to drop further. 79.60 would be the target to the downside for Aussie yen. New Zealand yen, a nice bearish engulfing candle close, biases to the downside. Next target would be 73.40 level, or 7,300, so 73.00. So biases to the downside for New Zealand yen as well. CAD yen, same thing, looking bearish here, nice bearish engulfing candle close. Next target here would be 85.00, and then below that looking at 84.60 level. So bias is bearish for CAD yen as well. Euro CAD, this one is range bound at the moment. It's just going sideways here, still holding this bullish momentum here, sideways at the moment. So bias is bullish to neutral here. At this point, we are right in the middle of the range. So I think this one can go all the way to the top of the range here. 1.5191 will be the target to the upside. So bias is bullish to neutral for Euro CAD. Pound CAD here, this is looking bullish. We had talked about the support resistance level. Price has gone up, and we had talked about how price was, we were looking for it to go through and come back. So after this close, we were looking for this type of a move, and this is what seems to be playing out right now. So bias is to the upside. The only thing to keep in mind here would be that there is support and resistance right here. 3 times price had tested this level before dropping here, so it could run into problem here as well. So just be mindful of this 1.6920 area, but overall bias is to the upside for pound CAD. Euro Aussie, this is looking bullish. So we had a nice move up, pull back, another move to the upside. So looking for it to go up higher into a 1.6140 level to the upside, which is the top of this pin here. So bias is bullish for Euro Aussie. Pound Aussie looking bullish here as well. Now we are coming into resistance, so just be mindful of that. Next target is 1.7980 level to the upside, so still looking bullish. Pound New Zealand, it's back into the previous support and resistance level we had talked about yesterday. We had talked about bullishness here, so that played out, and now we're looking for price to move up further. We are coming into resistance here, so just be careful with that one, because if it does not break the resistance, chances are it will come back down. So that's the only thing to keep in mind. Right now, bias is bullish. I'm looking for a retest of the high here, and if it does break that, then we could see it go further. But now if the pound starts to drop compared to other currencies, because we did see that knee-jerk reaction in it a couple of days ago, and if that move unwinds, in that case, pound is likely to drop, and we're likely to see this one go down as well. But New Zealand dollar is currently weak, and as a result of that, New Zealand crosses are weak, or pound New Zealand will be strong because New Zealand dollar is weak. So keep that in mind. Right now, bullish bias, looking for retest of the high here at a 96.08 and potentially into 96.20 level. If it breaks above that, only then would I be looking for the next target, but I think this could run into trouble right around this level. Just keep that in mind. Euro New Zealand, bullish, looking bullish here as well. Next target here, we have to go back quite a bit. So maybe let's go to the weekly one here. So this one is looking quite bullish here. And so there's plenty of room to the upside here. So daily target is bullish. Again, I will look for a retest of the pin first. If the price is able to go to the other side, only then would I be looking for price to be more bullish. But if it gets stuck here, so right now it looks like we could get stuck at this point. So have a look at this one here, for example. Price went and did tested slightly higher and then came back. So these crosses tend to do this, where they will have a big push and then they unwind that move. So that's something I would be mindful of. I think it could do a retest of the high, but I think it may struggle going through this level. So that's the only note of caution there. Right now, looking for a retest of the high. Only if it holds above this will I look for the next target, but bias is bullish. Okay, so that's all done. Let's go on to our gold. Gold looking bearish here, looking for price to drop further. And at this point, first target would be 1194.80, and then actually I think it could come lower into 1192.80 and then 1183, which is the base of this candle. So bias is bearish for gold. Oil here, we do have a pin. I think there is still bullishness in it, so it could go higher either to test the pin or to test these pins up here. So either test of this pin or that pin or those pins, but there is pin up top, which means it's not as strong as it was coming out of this move here. So I would be looking for price to turn here, but it could make another push to the upside. So just make a note of that. Last one here, we'll take a look at our Bitcoin, see what Bitcoin is doing here. Bitcoin just going sideways at the moment. I think it's range bound at the moment. It's sort of trying to come back here. I think it could drop further here. Not a huge move at the moment. So looking for a price to basically unwind this move up here. So 66.73 will be the target to the downside. So bias is, my bias is sideways for this. Any questions? Yes, dollar index. Let's take a quick peek at dollar index here. So for dollar index, it's sort of sideways at the moment. It doesn't look hugely bullish. It's sideways. For the last 3 days, we have just seen price go sideways. We talked about it being into support, but I think there is room for it to drop further, or there is, so we have to be cautious with it. Today it was an update, but it's not looking superbly bullish at this point. So it's just neutral. So I would just keep an eye on it at this point. There's no directional bias for dollar index, just neutral. It is consolidating just sideways. It's not doing much here, just consolidating sideways. So at this point, we have to see either if we get a nice bullish engulfing candle close, then that's going to switch the direction to bullish. And then we can start looking for upside. At this point, just consolidating sideways. There's really no directional bias, or if you get a nice bearish candle close. But again, we are into support at this point. So there isn't, even with a solid bearish engulfing or some sort of a bearish candle close here, there isn't a whole lot of room to the downside. So we are sort of into the lows. So let's see what it gives us. But if it stays below this 95.00 level, if it holds below this, then it could drop further because we have room here still, 9400 or 9414 level here. So there is still room for a drop, but right now it's sideways. In terms of NAFTA negotiations have been going on for a while here. It's kind of hard to say. Things are not going as smoothly as people had expected, or at this point there are all kinds of different comments coming out of both sides. And I was reading a news report that said that Trudeau was saying that bad NAFTA deal is worse than no deal. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. I'm not really betting on either side, whether it will come through or not. I think they are trying to get the deal done. So it can go either way in terms of comments. It's not so much the deal that makes a difference, the comments that come out of it in regards to the deal that drive the price. So we could see a knee-jerk reaction. And because of that, Canadian dollar, I think, is not the best one to trade at this point, because it's kind of hard to, I would say they're looking for a deal, and hopefully we'll see a deal done. But we have been at this point several times before where everybody says, okay, we're close to the deal, and then at the end moment, there's no deal. But there is pressure on President Trump to actually get the deal done, especially now we are going into these elections here fairly soon. So that's just my view on it. I would just stay out of Canadian dollar, because I would expect knee-jerk reaction to comments coming out in regards to the deal. Okay, any other questions before we wrap it up? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions, so that's it. Okay, perfect. So we'll call it a wrap. You guys have a wonderful evening, and I will be back next week again. So next week we start our full-on trade room session. So we'll be doing our London sessions, and I'll be sending out trade alerts starting next week. So this week, that's it for this week in terms of our daily analysis. Then we'll go into weekly analysis on Sunday. So you guys have a wonderful evening, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.